presentation on boards met. My senior project has been very long, but worthwhile and very paying. I would also like to thank my parents, or my mom that came today, and my grandparents that flew in from Panama to watch my presentation. When I was about 3 years old, I'd always been attracted to parachutes. My dad, he was an airborne master, and I would just love watching him jump out of planes. And being a military child, I saw that my whole life. At first, I wanted to do skydiving because I wanted to follow in the footsteps of my father. But being a year younger, I'm a year younger than my classmates, I wasn't old enough at the time to skydive, so I wanted to relate something to skydiving, and I did packing parachutes for Humanatarian aid. Can you please hit it? I will be sure always, that is the motto of the riggers, which are the parachute packers in the United States Army. They pack 2,500 parachutes a week, and there's about 100 soldiers in there, and they pack the chutes for the airborne students. My quote there you'll see is, if you don't succeed in your first parachute jump, forget about trying again. And with the story right here just gave us, that can relate perfectly, because if your parachute malfunctions and your reserve parachute malfunctions, you're most likely injury, which can lead to death. Can you please hit it? History of parachuting. Chinese texts about 21 centuries ago, the Chinese introduced parachuting. What they would do is during fairs and carnivals, they would jump out of planes. I mean, not out of planes, but buildings to entertain the crowd. Leonardo da Vinci's conical parachute in 1457, he introduced the first parachute. And the reason behind this and why he introduced it is because if anyone ever needed to jump out of a building, that it would be there. And then Sebastian Leonard demonstrated the actual first parachute. He built it. It was a 10 by 10, and the thing about this parachute was it was a rectangle, which dimensionally it didn't, when I first heard that, it didn't sound right to me. I didn't think it would work, but it worked for him. And then the first military use of the parachute were by artillery spotters, and what they would do is planes stand out during war, and what they try to do is get their soldiers onto the ground. And in order to do that was by parachuting. Next slide, please. Here's some more parachute art throughout history. First, Andre Garmin in 1797, he was actually struggling in a hot air balloon. He had to jump out of the hot air balloon in order to save his life. Frank Vladich in 1595, there's a rectangular parachute you can see on the screen right there. He made that one. And then the Army introduced a parachute, the MC-1 1C, and when they introduced airborne school. And then now we've gotten involved through parachuting that with space shuttles, if they ever need to come down into space, that they actually rely on parachutes now to handle tons of equipment to get into the ocean and into the Earth's surface. Next person.